Welcome to the X Block.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir! Then listen up.
You're listening to the X Block. I'm Jared, he's Caleb. Let's get into it. You are listening to the X Block Podcast, episode 31. I'm Jaron, and I'm here with Caleb.
Heyo.
And this is the world's #1 Xbox podcast.
Probably.
And Caleb, you know, we've been away. We've been away just for a week. We gave the people our top 5 games of all time.
The definitive list, Jaron.
Joined by Levin.
Yeah, he said Yo-Hey. Remember that in the podcast?
Yo-Hey?
I never forgot, yo. That's my favorite fucking intro ever. Yo-Hey.
Yeah, he was a good fit. We got to bring him back for some other stuff.
Yeah, what a nice young man, you know? Just his opinions on games are just, but you know, like great young guy. No, but I'm kidding. He made some pretty good arguments for, you know, what was it, Persona 3?
Yeah, Persona 3 Fez, is that what it was?
That was his first one. Yeah, that one was the least, needed to be on a top 5 list. The others made it though. You know, he made cases. He's a nice young man.
I know we already talked about it, but I've never seen someone say twice that a game from the same franchise that's on their top 5 list is better than the game they put on their list, but they're putting this one on their top 5 list of games of all time.
Yeah, definitively. It's the definitive top 5 list. And he's like, well, this one's better, but, you know, I'm going with this one.
Doesn't make the list.
That's he's playing on hard mode, you know? Everybody else just goes with the best. Levin's like, nah, I need a challenge.
It was a fun time. I guess welcome back, everybody. This is normally what the podcast will be like if you only started listening last week for our top 5 games. Welcome to the X Block.
Sometimes we're funny.
Occasionally.
Not usually.
Not too often. So, Caleb, have you even been playing games this week? I played games with you yesterday, but, like, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of them games, Jaron. So I played, you know, The Elder Scrolls Online. Still rolling through that. Made a lot of progress. I'm in the desert region now. It's pretty horrifying out there. Gears 5, though. Been playing a bit of that. So I talked to Jaron about this, but you guys would know I got a new TV. A LG C1 55-inch OLED. And boy, does that thing increase your gaming experience, Jaron. Does that elevate it? You know what I mean? Gears 5, native Dolby Vision, you know? 120 hertz gaming now up in there, bitches. Loaded up in there, dude. Shit's crazy. Everything looks immaculate, dude. Just like playing whole new games again, you know? So I played Gears 5, and luckily I had some achievements to get in that. So I loaded into Gears 5 and played some of the multiplayer. I think there's like one more achievement I'm going to get before I'm done with the game forever and uninstall it. But I'm pretty close to it. So I played a little, not too much, but a little bit of the Gears 5 and the Elder Scrolls Online. Although OLED can't save that game from looking not the best.
That's an MMO. MMOs don't usually look the best.
Yeah, it's rough. And then I've been playing a little bit of Siege with the boys, you know, not too much. And then yesterday is when I did most of my gaming this week. I played Minecraft Dungeons with you for like 4 hours.
Oh yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, we got through some of them damn levels, you know, on Apocalypse plus 3 and Apocalypse plus 5 and all that nonsense. I think we have like 2 expansions left for that game. And then House of Ashes came out, Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes, which Jared and I get hyped for every year. They release one horror experience every year. That's kind of like a mid-tier, kind of like 5-hour action game or adventure game, you know, with the dialogue options and QTEs, and it's super cinematic. They got Ashley Tisdale in this one, so that's pretty hype. They've got one racist man, which I'm confused about, and then they got the Iraqi soldiers. It's just all kicking off, man. And so we played like an hour of that, and then we went to sleep, and now here we are. And that was my gaming experience for the week, Jaron.
That's a pretty good experience.
Yeah, there's a few games in there. I played probably a little bit more than I should. Probably should have worked a little bit more. But I did get some stuff done, so I'm not that upset about it. Oh, and some Sea of Thieves. I fish on Wednesdays now.
I fish on Wednesdays.
I think we got a good time slot down, dude. About 7 on Wednesdays, me and the boys will load up, you know, and we go out there and fish, trying to get those commendations. Jawan joined us this week. Had to keep repairing the galleon in the storm.
Are you guys the only group of people, you think, on the planet that have a scheduled fishing day once a week, and that fishing day isn't in real life?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's some really hardcore dorks out there, and I wouldn't consider us in that region, you know? We're not the hardcore dorks, Jaron. There are other people who load into Bassmaster or something, you know, they're ready to go, you know? But we just want to fish on the Sea of Thieves, Jaron. Or earn our living. Dig our own worms. Catch our own fish and sell them to the hunter for a reasonable, modest price.
Yo, I want to sell like a t-shirt that says Caleb Bassmaster Greer on it.
No, don't do that. Don't sell that shirt. I don't want it.
Dude, it's a fucking wild thing that you just fish constantly. For the man who's not into fishing, apparently, and always gets mad at me when I make fun of him for fishing. He fishes once a week and now wants to write fishing guides for his website.
Here, well, I'm thinking about that last part, all right? Spoilers, damn. And Sea of Thieves, though, dude, the fishing in Sea of Thieves is pretty fun, and it's very simplistic. And I'm simplistic, believe it or not, so that's why I like it. Fishing in other games, I'm not super huge into, Jaren. It's just games that I've already played. I'm just getting achievements. Some of them have fishing things. Dude, you think I'm going for the fishing achievements in the Elder Scrolls Online? Hell no. That shit's so hard to get. Take hundreds of hours to get the fucking fish achievement.
You'll be there, dude. One day, I know that you'll be fishing in the Elder Scrolls.
I won't. Not in that game.
You will be.
Don't even like fishing that much.
Well, I guess we'll talk about what I've been playing.
Have you played anything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've committed a cardinal sin, Caleb.
Oh, no. Did you get a PS5? What'd you do? Well, that's fine, actually. Did you play Dark Souls? You played Dark Souls.
No, I didn't play Dark Souls.
Bloodborne?
Nope. I don't have a PlayStation. I have been playing the King of the Faff.
Oh, Avengers?
Marvel Avengers, yep.
Oh, no. Oh, that's even... I couldn't fathom in my brain that would be a possibility, you know? It was out of reach.
And I'm here to say, the single-player part of that game, haven't looked at the online at all. Don't have any interest in looking at the online ever. Never gonna do it. The single-player, it's pretty good so far.
Well, that's good. Is the voice acting still up to par and everything?
Yep. Everybody's good. It's weird listening to Bruce Banner talk when I know it's Troy Baker and listening to Iron Man when it's Nolan North, but, you get used to it.
Yeah, I guess. Is the story actually good? Wasn't it with that one brain guy? What's his name?
Yeah, I haven't got too far. I'm only I think the game says 20% in, and so far it's been good. I really like the main, girl character that they have.
Yeah,
Kamala Khan.
Is it Miss Marvel, or was it?
She doesn't technically have a name yet. They just call her Kamala Khan for the first, 20% of the game. Maybe they name her later. But yeah, she's like Miss Marvel or whatever.
She seemed really cool. All the single-player stuff for that game and all the story stuff seemed pretty all right. And then the game came out, and I learned more about it, and I was like, oh. And they showed, it was that one, E3 thing before the game came out, right? They showed the table and how the menus and systems work, and they kind of tried to explain that there were, 19 different campaigns, and only, 4 of them were co-op, and then 2 of them were dropping in alcohol, and they, had 19 different, explanations, and I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what you're telling me right now.
Yeah, I haven't been touching any of that.
Okay, well, I guess if you keep it really simple down to the bare bones single player, it might be all right, but why would you want to play an Avengers game, Jaren, in single player? It's Avengers. You want to play it co-op. That's the point.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying the single player. It's fun, and I also the 3 DLCs that they've added to it are you just have them, so I could just play them after. So that's kind of cool too. They're just there. Are
you playing it on your main account or on your alt account? Because you don't want the achievements.
On my alt account, because I don't want to go through and do any of the multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand that. That's a good call, actually. That's what alt accounts are for, frankly.
And that's pretty much it. I've been doing that, and then I've been playing, like you said, Minecraft with you and Siege with you. 120 frames per second, dude. Now that I flipped it on my TV, could have done it before, but yeah, I'm way better at Siege when 120 frames per second's on.
I didn't think it would help me either, and it definitely does. The night I turned it on, I could finally use the vector and compensate for the recoil because it was at 120 frames. And someone messaged me and said, nice no recoil on your vector or something, implying that I was hacking or I was a hacker.
Dude, you're a hacker. Activision already stated you a hacker.
Did I talk about that in this podcast briefly?
No, I think it happened the week that we did the top 5.
So someone gained access to my Activision account in June, and once I noticed it was a Russian, changed the ID to Russian kind of text, and I removed their access, with changing the password. Activision sent me an email and everything. Tried to load into Modern Warfare for shits and giggles about a week ago, and it was you're banned. I was like, what? So I went on the website, and it's you're banned. And I was like, why? So I submitted an appeal, and, I gave them all the info, all the facts, even the thing from when I changed my password, the Russian guy's Activision ID that he changed it to at the time, all that. And it was like, hey, clearly this wasn't me. You should be able to see this on your back end for IP addresses, regions, systems, whatever, because clearly I've only ever played here except for that guy. And then they're like, hey, we reviewed your appeal, and you can get fucked in the ass because we're not, you're still banned for Modern Warfare and Warzone. And I was like, well, I don't care about Warzone, but that's kind of lame that I'm banned for Modern Warfare. But oh well. So officially, guy, I'm so good at Call of Duty, Activision thinks I'm a hacker.
Yo, you should contact Microsoft and just jokingly see if they'll refund you because this game revoked your access for something you didn't do.
I could try that, yeah. That might be a good point. I could try that. But yeah, so I'm banned from Modern Warfare, even though I got days and days in that game. But everything comes to an end, Jaren. Ashes to ashes. Sometimes you get banned.
Well, we could just do this forever and just like totally change the format of the show, or we could move into Outside the Box. What do you think?
Outside the box, dude. Hit me with it.
I'm thinking outside the box,
where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community. All right, and the first story in Outside the Box, a potentially huge shift, Caleb, or nothing at all. FIFA
or
says
a huge shit.
FIFA says it's open to working with other developers as EA relationship fractures. In what can only be seen as a direct shot at EA, the future of gaming and esports for football stakeholders must involve more than one party controlling and exploiting all rights. That's what EA said, and this article is by VGC, as they're pointing out everything that the FIFA as a whole has said in relations to their video game partnerships. And FIFA is bullish and optimistic about its long-term future in gaming and esports following a comprehensive and strategic assessment of the gaming and interactive entertainment market. That's what FIFA said, and essentially that breaks down to EA doesn't want to pay us all the money we want, which was reportedly $1 billion for the naming rights. And now we want to work with other people in the platform.
Yeah, there's an important part for the rest of this article, too. Like, the background is on October 7th, EA press release revealed that the publisher, this is from VGC, was reviewing its licensing agreement with FIFA. The statement implies that were the company to cut ties with FIFA and rename the series, it would still retain all its other league, player, and stadium licensing, because these are reportedly separate from the FIFA license. So yeah, FIFA and EA are haggling over how much the FIFA brand, like name for the game, will cost. And FIFA wants like double the amount or some nonsense like that they wanted before. A lot more, at least like $250 million more. And EA's like, no, like we'll give you probably a bit more, but not that much. And then FIFA's like, nah, we want it. And then EA's like, well, we're not going to pay it. And it's like, guys, can you just come to an agreement for fucking FIFA? And they're like, no. And so... And FIFA's like, okay, well, I think after the Qatar World Cup next year,
yep,
FIFA can look that's like ends a 10-year agreement with EA, so FIFA can begin like looking to license out their name, I guess, to other companies, presumably Take-Two, right?
Yeah, probably. Take-Two's coming out with their FIFA 2K.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, they're looking for that, but even if that happens, EA would rename its FIFA game to something else. But EA says, quote, that's why we focus so much energy on the collective strength of over 300 individual licensed partners that give us access to 17,000 plus athletes across 700 plus teams and 100 stadiums and over 30 leagues around the world. So all of that stuff will stay the same, which is what people care about, right?
Yeah, they don't care if it's called FIFA.
Yeah, they may lose sales because grandma will go to the store every year and be like, can you get me the new FIFA game? And it won't be the EA game. So like the consumers would have to get used to the EA game being called not FIFA. And that could be potentially catastrophic, potentially not. But they're gonna have all the things that matter. And it's just a weird thing because they've both made so much money together, and they're like, we're at an impasse now because of this license agreement. And it's I don't know. It's kind of weird. FIFA's it's like one of the biggest sports games in the world every year. Like Madden, FIFA, or like the NBA 2K, but NBA 2K is only really popular in the US.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I don't know why EA doesn't want to pay the extra, but also, FIFA, the company, is like the most corrupt company in the world. Like they're doing the Qatar World Cup, and so many people have died building shit in Qatar because they just went there, gave all the money to the people who were building the things. They gave it to basically none of the workers and just worked them all to the bone. And then the FIFA executives pocket the money.
That's pretty fucked up. I think people are pretty familiar with FIFA being a shitty organization, and it seems like they're not great. Even though EA, we consider them not great a lot of the times, this FIFA's on another level.
Yeah, EA's not out there working people to the bone, they're dying, and then just sweeping it under the rug and being like, yeah, all right, next person.
Yeah, EA is closing down Pandemic in Volition.
Yeah, and then those people are going and finding other jobs, but I guess some of them aren't. Maybe EA's probably ruined a few lives, but definitely not as much as FIFA.
Yeah, so this news is pretty big for sports fans and fans of FIFA. Not huge for me, Jaren. Do you care about FIFA? Is this important to you?
Not one bit.
Yeah, this is just larger news for the video game industry, and it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like EA is going to rename their game. I was going to say, Jaren, last thing I had to say about this was, the thing is, though, they're making a soccer game. The only real competitor they've had, which is hardly competitor, has been Konami's eFootball. Which is that what they call it now? Or did they rename it to something else? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was called PES. They just made that recent pivot to eFootball and then totally flubbed the launch, and it's even worse somehow than PES was.
Yeah, they wanted to make it like larger on mobile and other things too. But anyway, the point was EA has and that studio over there, whoever the hell they are, has a long history making soccer games and like the physics and mechanics and everything tied to that. So it's like, even if EA loses the branding for FIFA, aren't they still going to have, like, the best soccer game? Like, who's going to come along and develop a better soccer game all of a sudden than the traditional FIFA games? You think it would take a while to get up to par with all the physics and all the stuff that's implemented in the FIFA games.
Oh, for sure. It would have to come from 2K, and honestly, that would probably be the best thing for soccer fans, because FIFA is consistently the same game for like the last 6 years. So if someone new came in and actually made a good soccer game, it would force EA to be better.
Yeah, it's good for competition's always good in this kind of thing for making the, like in gaming consoles and in just game types like sports games, because it makes the product better for the consumer, because they have to try to meet the other person's. If someone's like trying to steal your market, then you really got to keep ringing it, huh?
And if the past is anything to go off of, EA's not good at that, because NBA or 2K came in and totally stole the NBA one from them.
That's true. It's a good point, even with the NBA branding.
So, yeah. All right. Well, the next story in the X block, Ubisoft reportedly developing a new Splinter Cell game, and this one's from IGN, Matt Purslow, and he writes, Ubisoft has reportedly greenlit development of a new mainline Splinter Cell game. If rumors prove true, it will be the first core entry in this Tom Clancy stealth series since 2013's Splinter Cell Blacklist. A report from VGC claims multiple development sources have revealed that a new Splinter Cell is in an early phase of production, with a small chance of the game being announced in 2022. The project has apparently been greenlit as part of an effort to appease frustrated Tom Clancy and Splinter Cell fans who have been less than happy with Ubisoft's treatment of the brand over the last decade.
Okay, that's a lot going on there.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is with the current Ubisoft games we've been getting, from like Ghost Recon, Breakpoint, to even Far Cry 6, where there hasn't been really any substantial innovation, to Assassin's Creed had a great reboot, but then they've largely done the same two things the last two times.
Yeah, Origins was phenomenal. Odyssey was different enough. I don't know about Valhalla, though. I haven't played it.
Yeah, and The Division kind of just being the same for both, and basically the same game as like Breakpoint, but just slightly different story-wise and mechanics-wise. Is this even something that we actually want now?
Yeah, it's a good question, because first of all, we'd have to see it, but I have a question, and I'm going to get to that, but from the IGN article, it says, no further details were provided in the report, aside from the suggestion that the new Splinter Cell will be developed outside of Ubisoft's flagship Montreal studio. Does that mean they're developing it, or does it mean outside of them? So like another studio?
I think they're saying that they're not developing it, but it's a weird thing to point out because they didn't make the last one.
Yeah, well, it says Ubisoft Montreal developed key Splinter Cell games, including the original Chaos Theory and Conviction. But the most recent one, Blacklist, was developed in Ubisoft Toronto. So I don't know. They have a history, but I don't know who's developing this one. Here's the thing. So these dumb moves that Ubisoft's making, right, with X-Defiant and Heartlands and all this other bullshit that's coming out, these were decisions made like 2 to 3 years ago, right? Or more. Maybe like 3 to 3 years ago, these games getting into development.
Yeah, probably.
So if they're trying to do like a shift, and this is directly in response to consumer backlash, and this game's going to come out in like 3 years, or maybe a little more, hypothetically, this might be like an actual good, real Ubisoft game again, right? Like, it won't be a shitty fucking, I don't know what they would do to Splinter Cell. The Splinter Cell shouldn't be too hard to nail in terms of its a very specific combat and tone for the game, that's because it's a stealth game, a stealth shooter, that's unique from a lot of other games. So it shouldn't be that hard to like really nail it, without fucking it up.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in Ubisoft because even their Ubisoft-style games that they've been putting out recently seem to have been kind of on like a steady decline with the exception of Origins and Odyssey.
Yeah.
Like pretty much across the board, Far Cry's gone a bit down. Valhalla's not as good as Odyssey. All of the Division games are just kind of okay. It's like they're good.
And it does look like they're going into online even in the future. Like this seems like if it were to be the case, it would be like a one-time course correct for one entry in a series, because Assassin's Creed is allegedly going into Assassin's Creed Infinity, and the next Far Cry game is supposed to be more online, right? Didn't they mention that in an article recently?
Yep.
It's supposed to be a more online experience, and then there was a couple other things. I mean, then with just the newer releases like X-Defiant, Heartlands, and whatever that third thing was I was talking about. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell is going on at Ubisoft, but I'm less excited for this than if they had announced it 3 years ago, when everyone was expecting them to fucking finally announce a new Splinter Cell game.
I feel like the best outcome for this, and we'll finish up here, is that they nail kind of what EA did with Jedi Fallen Order, where they're making this transition towards online stuff, and then one studio really wanted to work on this game, and they give it to them, and they just kind of make a great Tom Clancy game, and Ubisoft goes, oh, maybe we should like go back this way.
Yeah, that'd be nice, you know? That'd be fantastic. Maybe this will be the one that finally turns the ship, but it's in high demand. Like, people have been expecting a Splinter Cell game since fucking 2013's Blacklist came out. And they've just been shitting on people, putting Sam Fisher and Sam Fisher cameos in a bunch of different games and mobile games. And then they were like, a new Splinter Cell game. And everybody's like, oh! And then it was a VR game. And you're like, what the fuck, man? You know? And so a new Splinter Cell game would probably be really good with fans. You know,
yeah.
People would be hype, and hopefully if they do it right, then yeah, it's all gravy, man. It's all good.
And right before we move on to the X Block, just one last thing. PlayStation State of Play coming October 27th, so we'll talk about that in our next X Block podcast, I would assume. And now, the X Block. There you go, Caleb. You're doing a good job.
That was a good one, man. Thanks, man. I live to serve you.
First up, updates on announced first-party games, Caleb.
Hell yeah, dude.
A new Starfield trailer reveals the game's main factions. This is also by Matt Purslow over at IGN. So here is the breakdown of like kind of what we found out. So in Starfield, your character will be a new member of the Constellation, a faction with the aim of uncovering the mysteries of the galaxy. The area of space that we'll be exploring is known as the Settled Systems and starts with our own solar system and expands outwards by around 50 light years into the Milky Way. The main story of Starfield will take place in 2330, but a key part of its lore appears to be the Colony War, a bitter conflict waged 20 years prior between two key factions, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. Apparently, the major factions currently enjoy an uneasy peace, but it seems like your interference in their affairs could shake those loose foundations. Could the UC and Freestar Collective be Starfield's answer to the Stormcloaks and the Imperial Legion from Skyrim? It seems possible.
And if you need more on this article, go, again, read it on IGN. They do a good roundup here, so yeah.
So it sounds like we're getting our first story details of Starfield, which should obviously be coming soon. The game comes out November 11th, 2022, but I feel like we still don't see like a full trailer or anything till next E3 because Bethesda likes to kind of keep things close to the chest.
I was going to say, Bethesda's holding off compared to a lot of other games because they have a specific release date for next November, and all we've seen so far is a trailer, you know, like a real trailer of a woman getting into a ship, right? And then two like concept art trailers, I'm pretty sure. Something like that. Was it maybe more than two, but I'm only aware of two. And it's just like people talking over concept art describing the game. And now I'm like, doesn't it come out in a year? But then it's like, well, this is Bethesda, so this is kind of what they do.
Yeah, they kind of usually just announce it. They've set up this thing now where they just announce at E3 and then the game comes out that year.
Yeah, so except when they, you know, some of the things that they did when they had their own E3 press conference where they had to like actually stretch it out and for some reason thought that was a good idea to do every year. But now they're kind of back to how they used to do things.
Yeah, now they're part of Xbox, so they don't have to show things anymore.
Yeah, so I was confused a lot about Starfield and exactly what that game was going to be, you know? Like, I didn't really have an idea. They're just like, Starfield, new Bethesda RPG. It's more grounded, it's in space. I was like, okay, cool. And then we got more info on, like, different planets and the locales. Remember, we talked about it here on the podcast, that one, like, the settings for some different areas.
Yeah.
And now they describe kind of the backstory and the actual things that matter, like the lore that you're set in. So you're part of, this group, the Constellation, which is, you're an explorer. But yeah, you go into the settled systems and these areas in space that had a conflict 20 years ago, and yeah, 50 light years into the Milky Way. And so it's the traditional kind of what you'd expect in real life too. When different planets start getting settled and different areas in space start getting settled, they start to form their own kind of independence. You go out to Mars, you grow up on Mars, you claim yourself as Martian. You're like, why the fuck are we listening to these Earth bitches? And then you're like, that's a good point. Why are we listening to these Earth bitches? And then there's a civil war, and so that happened, and now everyone's like tense, and you go out there, you explore, and like they said in the game, there's probably going to be a huge faction component here where you can either side with one team or the other, or maybe a third team that we don't know about, and kind of control what happens with the galaxy, kind of like where it heads. Who are you going to side with? Are you going to stir shit up? Are you going to be a mischievous little bitch, or are you going to, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's almost like the full opposite to the Outer Worlds kind of story, where the Outer Worlds kind of story is, hey, you woke up, this guy's like, hey, help me. And you're just like, fuck it. Let's see what happens.
All right, sure, man. Why not? Yeah, the game's probably not even going to be about this, I would think. This is a part of it. And they describe a religious faction, too. They say the trailer name checks the Ecliptic Mercenaries, the Pirates of the Crimson Fleet, and a religious cult known as House Varun.
It's like the Children of Adam.
There's going to be a lot of shit to fuck with in this game. And I don't know how much of it is going to play into like a main overarching plot, or is this just stuff you're going to encounter along your exploration? But it's gonna be pretty cool, man. I'm actually a little bit more excited for Starfield than I was going in before I knew about all this.
And on the other side, from space, we go to fantasy. And here we're going to talk about Avowed. And this was written by Jez Corden. And this is a long article, so I'm going to kind of sum it up for you. He essentially has a lot of inside sources working for Windows Central, and they have reached out to him to talk about what's kind of been happening with Avowed.
Yeah, he's seen video footage that he's gotten from sources, so he's actually seen some of the game.
And he prefaces this by saying he's a huge Pillars of Eternity fan, and that's what this game is set in. It's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe. He talks about multiple things that are happening in this game, and I'll read it to you right now. Avowed seems to be based on a similar, albeit engine from the Outer Worlds, complete with action-oriented first-person combat and their deep RPG exploration and narrative systems. We were told Avowed will feature multiple class playstyles and borrow from Skyrim's two-handed combat system, so you can say borrowed when you own both games.
Yeah, I guess so.
You could wield 2 daggers and be a stealthy rogue, or dive into archery with a two-handed bow. You could use a combination of swords and magic, or go full two-handed magic, which is required to wield some of the game's most potent spells and abilities. And he says he's also saw status effects, and apparently some of this has led to them like teasing that destruction in the game might be possible. And the combat does seem to be more loadout based than Elder Scrolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in this article. And like you said, there's the one thing he mentioned was being able to like destroy areas to enter. Like there's something blocking a passage or something, and you can like blow that up and then get in.
Which would totally like revamp this kind of genre. If you can just like walk up to a wall of a building that you're like supposed to go into, and you can just blow open the wall and go inside. I don't know if it'll be that in depth because it's going to be a big, huge RPG.
Probably not, but if that were to your thought process is correct, some big destruction, real world destruction elements like that would really revamp this like deep Western RPG kind of style of game. It'd be huge if that could one day happen. Yeah,
like if you're just like, yo, I got to enter this house here and there's guys and I'm supposed to go through in this normal way, or even I can like talk my way through it and not fight, or I can just roll up and blow a hole in the wall with like my spell and just kill everybody.
Or secret areas like in traditional Metroidvania games where you could like blow a hole in a wall and then you have a secret entrance to this area, but not something that you have to interact with, something that you can actually just do within the game, like blow it open. You don't have to like go up to it, press X, and it's like, oh, you found this kind of thing. No, like blow it open.
Yeah, and that would definitely make this thing feel more next gen, because that kind of stuff's not possible right now with the old consoles, because you would have to have so many different elements that are just on the screen so that when you blow it up, it actually blows up.
Yeah.
So yeah, Avowed, lots of kind of early stuff. It seems like they're still experimenting with things, but it does say that the game is like further along than most people think it would be. And although the content he saw does not represent a pre-alpha state, they are saying that they should be close to having a playable state possibly by this E3.
Yeah, the next coming E3. He mentions, the Game Awards, but guys, I would doubt it. If Even if they just showed a trailer that wasn't in game, it was just another CG trailer, that would be stupid. But you might could see that. I just think that'd be dumb. But I would expect like E3 2022 is when you're gonna see this game again. Maybe, probably, I don't know. And they're working on it, yeah. And he describes other things in here too. Like the game looks more vibrant, than I guess the initial CG trailer kind of showed off. It looked like it was being more grounded and realistic, kind of like a Skyrim, darker grays. But the real game looks more colorful, like, and saturated, like Outer Worlds, I guess he said.
Yeah, which I would expect from Obsidian.
Yeah, I would expect that too. And yeah, it's just a lot like Skyrim with a few changes and a few different elements, and it's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe. So he describes some of the, enemy types from that game showing up, and yeah, the combat system is just like we saw from the trailer. And yeah, so it's in the works. They're making it, and it's gonna be like Skyrim, and now we're gonna see, man. So the thing with Obsidian is it's crazy because they made Fallout New Vegas, which many consider the best Fallout game. They out-Fallouted Bethesda Game Studios. Then they made The Outer Worlds, which might just be, Starfield before Starfield comes out.
Yeah.
See? But with, corporations, whatever, who cares? And then, but it's a spacefaring kind of RPG in that Bethesda style. And then, yeah, now they're making Avowed, just gonna see if they can out Skyrim Bethesda. And it seems like they might.
Yeah, and they're basing it in a universe that they've already created and have had for a long time.
It's true. It already has an established world. The World of Eternity is apparently the world that it's set in within the Pillars of Eternity. I don't know anything about that franchise too much. I got some easy achievements on PC one time, but I didn't really know a ton about the game. And then, yeah, even if, The Outer Worlds isn't better than Starfield or something like that, or if you can't make direct comparisons like that, maybe The Outer Worlds 2 comes out and outs Starfield. So.
Yeah, I have a feeling Obsidian's gonna, their games are always gonna seem somewhat smaller than Bethesda's, which will be like an interesting kind of touch, and it allows for a more condensed and concise story by being smaller. But based on the total amount of games that they make, I feel like they'll continue to be smaller, while Bethesda will create these 5-year games that they work on that come out and are huge.
And the real winners, Jaren, are the Xbox fans who now have both studios in their purview on Game Pass. Those are the real winners.
And the last thing in first-party updates of games that have already been announced, Xbox boss Matt Booty, he talked to Kinda Funny, and therefore there's not really any hard-hitting information here because Kinda Funny likes to ask softball questions so people come back on their podcast.
It's true.
Essentially, he basically talks about Everwild and what happened to it, and he says that here's his exact quote. I'll just read it to you. And I'll say, when you look at it from the outside and you hear words like reset and restructure, those are probably a little more definite and a little more extreme than what really happens as a game comes to life. So essentially he's saying this game was never that far, so it's not really a reset. He's like, they're still kind of we're in the creative stage, and they were changing things up and making a whole bunch of different things, and they tried some ideas, they didn't work, and now their whole goal is to make sure that Everwild is something special. So they're trying to do different stuff, and they're still really early in development is kind of what he's saying, and that it was never a huge change.
Yeah, like in this article from GameSpot, who kind of round up some of these aspects from the interview, they say that Booty said there's no cause for concern. He said game development is a highly iterative process with many moving pieces, and it's natural that Rare's creative teams would change things as part of the development process. And Matt Booty said, quote, "What is Rare known for? They're known for creating new IP and creating worlds. And I'll say, when you look at it from the outside and you hear words like Jaren said, then yeah, it's part of the creative process." I'm not quoting him anymore. But it's part of the creative process where this team is kind of trying to find a game that works. And this is unique because he's saying things and he makes it sound like this is for every game. It's actually not, and he's being a bit cheeky here, with the wording. So it is interesting. It's the fact that it's Rare and they're the nature of them as a studio. Also, they're a first-party team, so they have time to experiment with things like this. They can't just fuck around with the game for 9 years if you're independent. That would fuck up your studio if you ran out of funding and you didn't have the right publisher. And then this team, they were working initially to create a game that didn't have combat. It wasn't combat-focused and it wasn't combat-oriented, but I don't think they were making it like a walking sim type of adventure game either. They were making a really unique kind of game, maybe Journey-esque, I don't know. But that's what Everwild was trying to be. They were trying to do no combat. And then through the process of making the game and developing it, they decided that would not work, and that it wasn't working and it wasn't fun. And so, yeah, they're just kind of going back to the drawing board of what can we do to add combat into the game and make it engaging and make it fun. And that really sucks because it looks like this game is not coming out for a long time. And it already has been in development for quite a while, quite a few years. But I'm not worried about it because Rare is focused, a big part of Rare is focused on Sea of Thieves. and Sea of Thieves is huge. And I don't even know if it's in the news story this week, but it was just announced that they hit 25 million players. And Sea of Thieves is awesome. And that's an independent IP that Rare developed. It wasn't even a hit when it came out, but they focused on it, innovated on it, and made it a really wonderful, lovely game that everyone who plays it is like, this game's phenomenal, you know? So I'm not really worried about it. Like, Everwild will come out when it comes out. In the meantime, I have Sea of Thieves from them. It's a bit of a creative process for them. I give them props for trying to do something really different. Not like friggin' Dreams from, Sony. That game, fuck that. But they tried to make a game that was like a no combat type of game and make it fun and engaging. They just couldn't do it, so now they're trying again.
Yeah, you get some leeway when your current game has 25 million players.
Yeah, you get a bit of a pass.
They let you experiment with things, especially when you're still putting out content and Sea of Thieves keeps growing.
Exactly. I was going to say, their latest game, Sea of Thieves, one of the most unique games ever created and immensely popular, is, still growing in popularity and still getting new and refreshing content for the game. So it's not like we're waiting in a stagnant world where Rare hasn't made something in 8 years. It's like, no, they put out a game in 2017, and it's definitively got better every second. I'm not too worried about Everwild.
And now, Caleb, we're going to move into some unannounced rumors.
Oh, God. So just digging down deep into the internet archives here, like the comments of the sub-comments of Reddit.
Yeah, this is all the stuff that we missed while we were gone. Essentially, tons of rumors and updates on games that we already knew about.
Okay, man, hit me with them.
Xbox Game Studios is reportedly set to publish a cloud-native MMO aimed at consoles. And this is from VGC, posted by Tom Ivan. And this game is the debut title from Finland-based studio Mainframe. Windows Central's Jez Corden first reported on the Xbox 2 podcast. A subsequent report from VentureBeat claims Mainframe is looking into gameplay mechanics that would only work in a title that lives primarily on a remote server. So they point out in this article, which was the first thing I thought, in July, Xbox Game Studios appointed Portal and Left 4 Dead designer Kim Swift as senior director of cloud gaming. So this seems like Xbox is making this kind of push with the stuff they learned from Flight Simulator to build these expansive worlds that are unmatched on games that aren't streamed from the cloud, because you just can't put that much stuff on a disc.
So Sony, from their end, seems to be dipping their toes more in PC and also expanding into mobile. That's kind of what they're doing. So they're expanding into mobile. They've revved up resources and studios and things and IP to work with mobile. You've kind of seen that shit happening. And then with Nintendo, they're kind of working more with their online pass, and they have a bit of cloud. They have the cloud shit on their end that they're working with to get games to actually fucking run on the Switch. And in Xbox's kind of end, what they seem to be working with is what Jaren said, expanding things in the cloud. And using their cloud capabilities with Azure and all that to try to make different, unique games. Something they initially kind of started and failed with Crackdown 3, but then seemed to hit gold with Microsoft Flight Simulator. And yeah, so they're working with that, and like this, the rest of this VGC article says, there's a paragraph that says, the game will also reportedly feature mechanics that scale in terms of complexity, meaning players might find it convenient to craft a resource farm on their phone before engaging in more complex tasks like raids on their console or computer. And I saw this, Jaren, because I hadn't heard of this until I saw you put it in the doc. I don't think this game's going to work out. I think it might be too early. And even if it's the right time, I don't know if these guys are going to hit, what they need to hit and what they need to nail to make this MMO work out in the MMO space.
It's a bold shot for a first game.
I'm worried about it. Even if it kind of has some cool features, I don't think that they're going to nail this extraordinary vision that we think or hope that they can nail right now, And I think in the MMO space with Final Fantasy XIV, New World, the Star Wars, The Old Republic, Elder Scrolls Online, Star Trek, and some other titles that I'm less familiar with, it's like, I don't know if these guys are going to succeed with a brand new MMO game for the cloud.
This does bring in an interesting thing, though, in that you have to buy New World, you have to pay a subscription service to be part of Star Wars The Old Republic. You have to buy Final Fantasy XIV. Is Game Pass going to actually be a good place for MMOs? Because you already pay for your Game Pass subscription. Now you just get to hop in and play a continuously evolving world on Game Pass. It also, though, on the downside, means you can probably only make 2 or 3 if you're going to put them in Game Pass, because you're really segmenting your player base on each of the games.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. The Game Pass thing does throw a wrench in it, where it's kind of like you already have this embedded, group of people, and that's kind of what Avengers utilized, right? When they put Avengers in Game Pass, they were hoping to get a bump from all the Game Pass people, and I guess it did. But the thing is, though, this game is a debut title from Mainframe, and so it's their first outing as a studio, and they're gonna go with a revolutionary cloud-based MMO. It's like, is the game gonna be good enough, even if it has an embedded player base like from Game Pass and all that shit? Is the game actually gonna be good enough for where people want to play it? I don't know, man. This game is kind of shaky about this game.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a grounded thing where it starts small and kind of continually grows. They maybe put it out, they focus test it with players, then they continue to grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it until it becomes like, I don't think you're going to get like a New World kind of launch where they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the game and like tested it a whole bunch of times and put it out. I think you're going to get like the game in chunks would be my guess.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess we'll get more on this as it comes out. For this point, we only have some speculation. And this is a rumor, but I guess it's true. Right? Like,
yeah, who knows?
Reporting it like they know.
Who knows?
So yeah, I guess we'll see. But if it ends up happening, we had kind of a wait and see to whether this actually pans out.
And the last one, We Happy Few Studio has doubled in size to make a narrative single-player Xbox exclusive. This is by Jared Moore on IGN. And yeah, I feel like there's rumors and there's like people pointing out to things and all that kind of stuff about what this game could be and what it can't be. But basically, since it's a rumor, Caleb, why don't we just tackle it as like, is this kind of Microsoft's starting to make that move towards trying to make things like PlayStation makes? Because they have said in a separate thing that I didn't put in this, because it was also from the Kinda Funny's game interview, and it was very just like thrown out there, where Matt Booty basically said that they would like to make the kind of blockbuster games that PlayStation makes and that PlayStation's done a really good job of doing. I would argue that is basically what they're doing with Starfield. But do you think that this kind of narrative single player game is like their step towards trying to do what Sony's doing?
A bit, yeah. So Compulsion was already a smaller studio, and it says that the rumors that they doubled in size for this, that this thing that they're working on, this narrative single player exclusive game, and they said, I think the woman, I don't know her name, I think she's the head of Compulsion, I'd have to dig down in the article. She said they're working on making something that's not like We Happy Few, where it was kind of had roguelite elements of, what's the word, Jaren? When something spontaneously generated? What is it?
Oh, I know what you mean, but I don't have it either.
We struggled one time on this podcast remembering that word again another time. But yeah, so this one is going to be like an actual set narrative game that they're working on. And they did grow for it. But even then, this is still like a smaller studio where it's not going to be like the size of a Sony Santa Monica, working on a game. And so it might be a cool, interesting, narrative experience, but it's not going to be like a PlayStation blockbuster level experience. They're working toward that, I guess, with some IP or with some studios. But the thing with Xbox's studios is I don't really want them to do that. And that's not what they're doing either. They have so many studios that making big narrative, kind of games, single player narrative games, or even single player third person narrative games, that's a small component of all their offerings on Game Pass and with their studios. Like, that's the main thing that Sony does, but Xbox can actually branch out and have a few FPS titles and a few, hardcore RPG titles and like a third-person action shooter, like cover-based shooter, and some single-player narrative games, like whatever the fuck, Hellblade 2 in this game, and some more indie-style games or like something, whatever Double Fine's gonna work on next, and all our actual strategy games for PC, like all of this shit, and a bunch of other stuff too. All this shit kind of combined, so their variety, I think, is what makes them, in my opinion, for gamers, like better than just the blockbuster, mainly narrative, some oftentimes dark but third-person action narrative games that are most of Sony's portfolio. So this is kind of a step toward, getting into that genre more with Xbox because they're a bit lacking in that area. But it's not. The studio's not big enough to compete, I don't think, on that size, and it's just it exists in the Xbox ecosystem as just another type of offering of game for people who own Game Pass or like are interested in Xbox's first party teams.
Yeah, and I agree with pretty much everything you said. And in terms of this game, this is actually one I'm interested in because I think they nailed a lot of the narrative stuff in We Happy Few, where I was interested in the world, I was interested in the narrative, and I was interested in all those kind of things. But the way they made the game took me out with like the randomization and all of the different stuff that can happen. And I didn't really understand what the point of the game was. I couldn't figure it out, but I feel like based on the environment they created and the vibe they created and the story that they kind of hinted towards in this game, if they can just put all that stuff in a single player game, I would be very excited to play it.
Yeah, and it's a bigger studio with a bigger budget this time around. And this time it'll be an Xbox exclusive, because I don't think We Happy Few was, because they hadn't bought Compulsion at that time.
Yeah, I think it was still back and forth on both, yeah.
I was never interested. I mean, I kind of was, but I didn't ever play and didn't really find the desire to play We Happy Few. And I'm not a huge fan of Compulsion, and frankly, whatever the hell they make next, unless I see a trailer and it's something very specific to my taste, I don't super care. Like, that maybe, I don't know, some people may feel differently, but it's like, I'll play it if I get super interested, and I mean, it'll be in Game Pass if I want it, but I'm not over here, like, waiting desperately for the next Compulsion game. And that's not, like, this knock against them. That's just my own taste. It's like they're making this single-player game. It's like, well, I got a bunch of stuff to play. Good for you guys, get to work, but, like, I'm gonna play Hellblade 2. That's what I'm excited for. And this game is just going to show up, and I'll either see what it is or isn't. Yeah.
I feel like they're in a very similar spot to where, what's their name? The people who made Hellblade.
Ninja Theory?
They're in a very similar spot to where Ninja Theory was before they made Hellblade. Where everyone's kind of like, well, okay, well, let's see what you got. And if they make a game that's great, then everybody will be excited for the next one.
Yeah, this is their proving ground that they could with We Happy Few. Now we're going to see what they can do with allegedly double the studio size and allegedly a narrative single-player game, like with a big budget or something. Like, let's go. Let's see what you got.
All right, next up in the X block, Xbox Game Pass subscriber growth missed Microsoft's annual target. And this is from Tom Ivan from VGC. That being said, the number of paying members was increased by 37.5% during the company's last fiscal year, but they were aiming for 47.79%. And I think they would have hit that had they not had to delay Halo.
Yeah, they've had a lot of delays and a lot of the consumerism from gaming and the things that were bumping up. Like, you saw crazy numbers, especially with March and beyond in 2020 when the pandemic was hitting off. That dropped off a bit following a lot of the main, pandemic time. So even though the pandemic's still here, it's not as prevalent, as it and as dire as it was in 2020. So that's fallen off a bit. And I'm not a financial expert or anything along those lines, but it seems like. Yeah, well, I mean, it still grew by a shit ton. It missed their targets by 10%. A lot of that probably had to do with fall off from the pandemic and like up and higher expectations and just like optimistic expectations versus realistic expectations. And the fact that, I don't know if this accounts for Halo getting delayed or just the fact that do they realize that they have had barely any first party blockbuster hits in Game Pass yet?
Oh yeah, that's what I would point out. I would say 37.48%. Is pretty good, only having Flight Simulator and Psychonauts 2.
Exactly, yeah, and then some third-party boostings and stuff. Like, we're waiting for Forza Horizon's gonna come out, bang, and then it's like Halo Infinite's campaign's gonna come out, bang, and that's gonna have a shit ton of marketing behind it too, and a lot of and Black Friday and all the Game Pass offerings and the people buying Game Pass for Black Friday and that shit. And then going into next year, if they can finally start hitting more targets with fewer delays, then it's like bang, 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 first party offerings. Like, you should see this continue to go up by a ton.
Yeah, well, you're going to get Stalker 2 or Stalker, whatever the
second party offering, but yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get that 3 months after you get Halo. So there's just going to be consistent games coming, and I assume that will when we start to see the huge increase.
Yeah, and everyone's kind of talking about that in the industry, and it's been talked about forever. It's like, when are Microsoft's acquisitions and huge first party studio is going to start hitting with releases? And it's like, well, that's in conjunction with these numbers and targets for Game Pass. It's like, okay, well, when they do, you're going to see Game Pass numbers hypothetically go up by a ton.
Yeah, I think that's basically, when did they start? They started with Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, pretty much in this August.
And now we're going to see the continued every 3 to 4 months game.
And last thing I was going to say, because I thought about this when I read it earlier, even if they don't hit their optimistic targets, and even if this is a big part of what their stakeholders or stockholders look at in terms of the overall financials of Game Pass, Satya Nadella seems to really believe in Game Pass, and a company can't just shift on a dime like that. So even if Game Pass is still growing a lot and they're just not hitting targets, they're going to just readjust expectations and try to do what they can to grow the service. They're not going to be like, hey guys, never mind on Game Pass, like, back to paying for all our games, $60, $70 now. Like, that's not gonna happen.
No one's gonna shit on a 40% increase. It's still a 40% increase.
Yeah, they know they're losing money on this. They know what happened when they didn't have Game Pass and how that looked. With that system, they're not. It's not happening. Like, they're gonna stick with Game Pass and do what they can to support it. Just because they grew by 37% instead of 47%. It's not going to be like, well, I guess we got to reevaluate Game Pass and whether we're going to continue with that as a as an idea and our platform and subscription basis. I think we should go back to just retail buys. It's not happening.
No, it's definitely not happening.
Yeah.
But if they keep having things like this next one, then they might run into some problems. Another missing feature has been announced for Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite will add ray tracing after launch.
So I can take this one, Jaren. This isn't really enough for a Halo block, but they did a PC overview over on and showed like widescreen support and all this stuff on their YouTube channel recently. And they said that ray tracing will be added after launch. So we already knew this. This is disappointing for people like me. I'm going to give you guys the rundown. They're like, yo, ray tracing's not coming to launch. It's like, yeah, we already knew that. Here's the disappointing part. I was hoping that a big part of the delay for a year would be that ray tracing would be there by launch, that was something they could work on and have in launch, and that would be pretty cool, that I wouldn't have to wait to get my first experience with ray tracing in the campaign. Turns out, still disappointed, Jaren, because even after a year of development, the news here isn't that like ray tracing's added after launch. It's like we already knew that. The point is they reconfirmed it, and then you're like, oh, so you had a year delay and you're still not putting it in at launch? That sucks. I thought that would be in. So when was it going to come out if you delayed it? Like, when was it going to come out? If it came out in 2020, if you didn't delay it, when was it going to come out? Like, goddamn. So Halo Infinite is going to be one of those games, I can already tell with all these missing features and things and all the patches and shit they're going to add into it. I imagine Halo Infinite is going to be the type of game where it should have been delayed probably a bit longer. They didn't want to for financial reasons and because the consumers would fucking lose their shit if they realized Halo Infinite got delayed to like halfway through next year. And they're going to hit a lot of targets. It's going to be a great game. But given all the features that are going to be added after the fact and all this kind of stuff, Halo Infinite is going to be a game that's just better in like 2 years. Like it's going to be a game that comes out, it's great, it's good. And then you look back on what Halo Infinite turns into and all the patches, but specifically with like, features is not really like patching the multiplayer and weapon balancing. Fuck that shit. That usually fucks the game up. But in terms of features and content and all that, and the campaign fixes and like whatever the hell they add to campaign, ray tracing and all this stuff, it's like, okay, the game is going to be better at launch for them to be able to focus on the things that matter. And it's unfortunate and it sucks. And personally, at this point, I wish they'd delay it 6 months. They're not going to. Whatever. And the game will get better and they'll add these things in later. That's it.
Yep. And the last thing in the X block, I'm just going to tear through this because it's just Game Pass news. Remastered GTA San Andreas is coming to Xbox Game Pass. Now, when Grand Theft Auto drops the Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy, a remastered bundle of the first 3 GTA games, drops on November 11th, that is the same day that GTA San Andreas will also hit Game Pass. The other 2, you'll have to buy. GTA 3 is making its way to PlayStation Now, so I assume GTA 3 then might come onto Game Pass later if they like switch games or something.
Just real quick, Jaren, did you see the new trailer, I think from today maybe, that they showed the trailer for the trilogy?
I didn't see the trailer. Does it actually look better?
No. Rockstar released the trailer and they do like a bunch of scenes from the different games and they screen wipe, from left to right to show the difference. It's literally like, I swear, it's like they increased the contrast and the saturation of the colors. That's it. Maybe they play better. That's possible. And I think they have GTA 5 controls now. But I'm just real quick, just this quick addition. I saw the trailer. It looks like they found a saturation and contrast filter. That's it.
All right. And now the new Xbox Game Pass titles for October 2021. Some of these are already out, but Outriders came out on PC. Dragon Ball FighterZ Z came out October.
I think it's Fighters.
Whatever, came out October 21st.
I'm a giant Dragon Ball nerd, so that's the only reason I interjected here. Go ahead, Jared.
That's for cloud and console. Echo Generation came out October 21st for cloud, console, and PC. Everscape 2 came out October 21st for PC. Age of Empires 4 comes out October 28th.
Big game if any of you are interested. Big Microsoft game.
Alan Wake's American Nightmare console and PC comes out October 28th. Backbone just comes to console. That's from ID at Xbox, October 28th. Caleb's favorite game, Bassmaster Fishing 2022, comes out October 28th for everything. He's going to probably play it on the cloud, the console, and the PC.
I'm not talking to you for the rest of the podcast.
Non-Guns Doppelganger Edition comes out October 28th for cloud, console, and PC. And one of my favorite games of the year, The Forgotten City, comes out cloud, console, and PC on October 28th as well.
Oh, I remember you talking about that game. Yeah, good for you.
And Among Us will release on December 14th in Game Pass.
Very hot.
Next up, the X Factor discussion. So essentially, DC showed off the trailers for Gotham Knights, and they showed off Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. And both of these trailers, I don't know if they made me more excited or less excited for the game. That's why I kind of wanted to get Caleb's opinion on it.
Yeah, good call, man. So I saw those. Gotham Knights, they've been working on for a while. That's a kind of Warner Brothers Montreal, the studio who made Arkham Origins. Yes, they made Origins. And then Rocksteady made the other 3 Arkham games, Batman Arkham games.
Yep.
They're making Gotham Knights. It's billed as a co-op game. That's why it's different and cool. And I was more excited. I didn't really care for the Court of Owls, this whole thing. And the trailer is kind of about, I think it's the Penguin talking to Nightwing and showing off. And then, yeah, some fight stuff in there and all this. Jaron, I'm excited to play this a bit more. I thought that this did more for me than the 7-minute gameplay trailer that we saw a year ago before they delayed it, or 2 years ago. I'm excited for that one. And the Suicide Squad, I wasn't excited for that game at all. And I'm not super excited. I'm more excited for the Gotham Knights game than the Suicide Squad game. But it does look really good. It's like you have 4 Suicide Squad members. I forget who, Harley Quinn and a few, Deadshot, I think, and a couple others. And they're trying to kill, like, Brainiac, I think, took control of the Justice League. And Superman is just fucking shit up, and the Flash. I mean, all these people, it looks crazy. It looks really, really crazy, and I'm actually kind of excited. The main thing that got me excited, Jaron, was I think they announced online co-op for that game.
Ooh.
So if we can play Suicide Squad co-op and achievements work, then I'm totally down. And if not, then I'll be like, it's not Batman, but yeah, I guess I'll play it. Fine, Rocksteady's cool. But yeah, I'm more excited for Gotham Knights, just based on the story trailer. I didn't think the story would be that interesting to me, but it was.
Yeah, Gotham Knights still looks like an old game that got delayed.
It does, but, you know, I like the Batman games, and I liked Origins.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'm definitely excited for the combat. I love the combat. The co-op aspects are good. I feel like I'm the same level of excited as I was for both these games. Suicide Squad actually looked cooler than I thought it did before, and it actually kind of looks next gen. But overall, I hope these games don't come out too close to each other because they both feel like very similar games, and if they drop them both in the same year, I don't know if I'm going to want to play them both. They
both say 2022 release dates now. I think one of them may get delayed a bit. I don't know that for sure, but just what Jaron said, you don't want to release them at the same time. And this was a big deal because, you know, AT&T and Warner Brothers was like selling off some of their gaming shit to Discovery or some nonsense. I don't remember how that was working.
Yeah.
And so these kind of games were up in the air, not like totally, because these games are going to come out and everything, but like some of their gaming strategy over there at Warner Brothers was up in the air with their studios and stuff. But it seems like they're keeping Warner Brothers Montreal and Warner Brothers or Rocksteady and all that. That seems like they're just good to go.
But we didn't see anything from Injustice 3, though, which does lead towards the rumors that they might be selling NetherRealm.
Yeah, I don't know that for sure. And then also, I mean, this is a DC thing, so this doesn't matter, but I still don't know exactly what's going on with Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, the Lego game.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with them either, but these 2 games seem like they're staying with the Warner Brothers Game Studios umbrella thing that's not part of Discovery or whatever the hell now. So there you go.
The last thing I'll throw in on it is that I feel like the reason I was kind of not as excited about the story in them was because the first thing I saw from this DC event was the Batman trailer.
It's the Bat!
And I was like, okay, this movie looks fucking incredible with the way that it looks and like the story that I'm getting from it. And then I saw like the Gotham Knights trailer and the Suicide Squad trailer, and I was like, man, I wish we could just be a little closer to the Batman.
Yeah, something a little darker like that, fucking gritty. Vengeance, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I feel like that's why I feel like once we get closer to it, I'll definitely become more excited because I do really like the Arkham games.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, Gotham Knights over Suicide Squad for me. Maybe I'll be wrong objectively, but, you know, that's co-op is the big selling point for me here.
And in terms of Game Pass or gameplay, I know we're supposed to review Surgeon Simulator this week. Plain and simply put, we forgot. We're going to do it next week when we spin the wheel.
We forgot last night. I think we noticed. We were like, oh shit. We forgot to do that because we got thrown off because of when we record versus when the episodes come out by like a day or whatever. And also Jaron was gone for a week. That threw us off.
Yeah. So next week we'll have the review. During the review portion, we'll be like, this is October 32nd. And then when we spin the wheel, it'll be November 1st.
Yeah, something like that. There you go. And so it's still coming. Surgeon Simulator 2. Right?
Yeah. So we're going to hop on that again. Sorry about that. Now we're hopping over to the FAF. Now, the FAF is where I bring you all the news that you don't need to know, but the news that you kind of want to find out, that you see it scrolling by on your Twitter feed, and you're like, should I click on that? And I come in with my hand, and I slap you, and I say, God damn it, don't you fucking click on that. You come listen to me talk to you about this nonsense.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, dude. It happens every week, dude. The listeners, they go to click on something, and I come out of their screen and slap them.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough, Jaron.
All right, Caleb, start us off.
MicroFAF.
The Xbox Series X mini fridge has launched. Caleb and I were not able to get it, but Caleb does have another chance as it will come to Target in stores in December. So he'll just have to go get it in like Louisiana where no one wants it.
Bet your sweet mama's ass I'm gonna buy one.
Next up, new larger Xbox storage expansion, and there will be a 512 gigabyte version and a 2 terabyte card, and they will come out before Christmas. Now, the 2 terabyte one is $399, which makes it more than a Series S, which everyone loves to point out, except that it has like 4 times the storage capacity of a Series S.
Get fucked.
And the 512 gigabyte card will come out for $139 if you want to maybe plug that one into your Series S to get closer to what the Xbox Series X provides you.
I'm interested in the 512. I think we talked about it when these were announced initially. But yeah, I'm interested in the smaller expansion. I may get it. We'll see.
There you go. I'm going to grab probably one. We'll look at getting one for Dara for her birthday or for Christmas since she has the Series S. And who knows, maybe I'll grab one if I need one. Xbox has also announced a special 20th anniversary event for this November 15th. They're going to do a stream. They said they're not going to announce any new games, but maybe we'll get a look at some stuff that they've already announced. But it seems like it'll more be a special look back at 20 years of Xbox. And hopefully we get a bunch of merch drops.
It's just a celebration.
Yep. So there you go. All right, Caleb, hit me with the next one.
At this point, do people even care?
Cyberpunk and Witcher 3's new gen versions are delayed to 2022.
Oh, wait a minute. When I saw this news, I didn't read it. I just saw the headlines. No one mentioned The Witcher. Is this true? Is it just Cyberpunk or is it The Witcher as well?
No, it's both of them.
Oh, no, Jaren. Oh, no. Oh, no, Jaren. I wanted to play it. No. It's no good at all.
All right,
This
so
sucks.
Caleb cares.
I hate you. I hate you for telling me. It's the worst.
We found out Caleb cares.
Oh, I really didn't know. All the news articles I saw were Cyberpunk Next Gen features delayed. When is the Witcher one coming out?
It just says 2022 for both.
I'm very specific audience. I wanted to go back and play it on Death March and get the achievement with but only on Next Gen because why else bother? But damn it.
Fair enough. All right, Caleb, hit me with the next one.
Shitty teammates. Boy, do we have something for you.
A patented PlayStation feature allows players to pay to kick others from games.
Ooh, wow.
So this is something that PlayStation has created. The patents have been filed online. So yeah, they want you to pay money to boot a teammate from your game so they can't play anymore.
That's brilliant. I got to give it to him, Jaren. Some people would pay for that.
What a stupid idea.
PlayStation fucking sucks. Even their patents, their unreleased patents suck.
All right, Caleb, and now we're moving on to quick quips. This is one of my favorite ones. Essential, in quotes, features missing from the Battlefield 2042 beta are in the full game, DICE says. Well, I better fucking hope so. Jesus.
Essentially the whole game.
Hey, guys, we didn't put things in the beta, but they're going to be in the main game. Do they just think everyone's an idiot?
Yeah, Jaren, and it's a beta too, but whatever.
Hideo Kojima is releasing a range of designer glasses, Caleb.
Are they walking sim glasses, Jaren?
Oh, yeah, you got him, Caleb. You got him so good.
Yeah, dude, that was a good joke, man. That was a good one.
And the last one, which I traditionally take, the Uncharted movie trailer has officially been released. And all I can say about it is I'm really confused because it's supposed to be a prequel, yet it features a whole bunch of set pieces from all 3 games. And I'm not sure if Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland are both aware that they're not both Nathan Drake.
I hated it.
There you go. And that is the end of the X Block Podcast, episode 31. Now, if you want to listen to us somewhere else than you're listening to us right now, you can head over to Spotify, you can head over to Apple Podcasts, you can head over to Google Podcasts, you can head over to Overcast, or you can head over to anything Anchor supports. If you would like to listen to your podcast on YouTube, you can head over there. We're the X Block Podcast on YouTube. If you would like to follow us outside of the podcast, you can head over to Twitter at X Block Podcast. You can head over to Instagram at X Block Podcast. You can also head over to Twitch and Patreon, which Caleb will tell you about now.
You'd think I'm going to go on for a long time this time, but no, I got to get out of here this week, dude. _XBlock at Twitch. Dude, follow us there, and patreon.com/XBlockPodcast. Go over there, throw us a few dollars, please. Patreon.com/XBlockPodcast.
Tell all your friends. Podcasts live and die on word of mouth. So if you're listening to this and you haven't told anyone about it, please tell people to listen to the X Block Podcast. X Block out.
Thanks for listening to the X Block. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.
I like it when they call me Big Papa.